Hello all and welcome to tonight's beer review, which I am dubbing the insomnia review. I had really bad insomnia for the past few nights, so yeah, going to be drinking beer and probably making it worse. And along that line, what are we going to be reviewing? Well, I thought, in a continuation amongst the lines of the last few reviews, which I need to get around to uploading. I said I was going to upload everything before we got back to reviews. I did for like a couple weeks, and then I got tired of it. Gotta get back to it, and I probably will. But anyways, along the same lines of what I've been reviewing before, and I'm going, there we go. We have Maui Brewing Company Imperial Coconut Porter. I thought I reviewed this, but apparently I had not. And looking at the price tag, this is nearly $20 for the bottle. It's not surprising that I had not. You can see it's almost like in the wine bottle size. So not bomber size, it's like the wine bottle 750 milliliter size. You can see it's very wet because I've been letting it out to warm a little bit. So let's read the label, shall we? Brewed with hand-toasted coconut with subtle hints of cacao and coffee. A deeper, more intense version of our flagship Coconut Hiwa Porter, this Imperial Coconut Porter is brewed with nearly double the amount of coconut, creating a bold, authentic island flavor that cannot be matched by artificial flavors or extracts. The experience begins with strong notes of toasted coconut, shifts into rich chocolate and roast malts with layers of cacao and mocha, finishing with rich, toasted, nutty sweetness. This is 9.4 ABV. So what's the difference in between an Imperial Porter and an Imperial Stout? I would probably guess the type of dark malts used and the amount of residual sugar, really. But I'm not a brewer. I'm someone who wishes he could be a brewer, but lacks the wherewithal, financial or otherwise, to do so. So 9.4 ABV. Let's get to this, shall we? I've been out warming for half an hour. I'm going to be putting it into a stout glass, but only halfway. I don't want to go and top this one off. I want it to be more like a snifter. Which I overpour, obviously. That's okay. Don't need carbonation on bite or something like this. So, very dark golden brown, opaque except at the very base. You can see some carbonation going up. Very well carbonated for, even though I'm going to give this vigorous pour. It's very well carbonated for something of this ABV and style. With a thick beige, well, thick to frothy beige head. Wow. It is very much like the Hiwa Coconut Porter, only much more intense. Everything has been turned up to 11, as it were. Fine base of roast notes, fine base of roasted malt notes. Dark chocolate. Above that, the nutty coconut. The coconut is much more apparent in this than it is in the regular Hiwa Coconut Porter, I say, anyway. Definitely sweet smelling, but not cloying in any sense. Oh, and here comes the wind and rain again. Perfect day to be drinking an Imperial beer, don't you think? All in all, not too different from the base beer that is made from, but just, like I said, turned up to 11. Very thick, very oily on the palate. Let me check something here. I wonder when the bottle buy date is on this. Up front, nice bite of toasted coconut, which is slightly different. I think a lot of people, you go through reviews of this and you'll see people saying, oh, where's the coconut? Toasted coconut is much more apparent in this than in the Hiwa Porter, both versions that I looked at. And that is a nuttiness, and it's not a very sweet thing. Toasted coconut isn't very sweet. It's almost in between savory and sweet by my estimation anyway, but it's there up front. Nuttiness, it's kind of hard to relate to. A little bit like toasted marshmallow, just slightly in that direction. It's very difficult to go and correlate toasted coconut to other things. It's very much up here too. And after that, transition from the front to the mids, very much bittersweet chocolate. And not evocative of bittersweet chocolate like bittersweet chocolate. Gets more of an herbal note. Bittersweet chocolate on the tongue. Above that, cacao. And maybe a bit of carob to it. Tastes a little bit on the spicier side. And what I mean by that is more towards carob, more aromatic than cacao, which I think lies more on the tongue. It's very difficult for me. Cacao and carob are two very different tasting things to me, but they're very much alike to a lot of people. In fact, almost identical. One has more spice to it and is a little bit less earthy. The sweetness from the front to mids lasts into the finish, sort of persists on the palate, but by no means is it cloying. It's pretty sweet up front, indeed much more than an Imperial Stout would be, but it clears fairly well. It doesn't hang around, which is something that I was a little bit worried about. This could really sneak up on you too, by the way. Other than the intensity of the flavor, there is zero booziness to this. And this is kind of surprising because I've almost overwarmed it to the point where I would think that booziness would start to appear, but there is no booziness. The only thing that could hint to you as to its possible ABV being somewhat on the high side is the intensity of flavors and intensity of smells. And that's very good because booziness is not something that I really like as a taste note. It's something that generally is in a lot of higher ABV beers that I find. It's very difficult to get away from. The taste notes are so intense, so big, that you don't feel and taste that booziness. And that is very much a selling point in my book. Some slight bittering hops shows up in the finish. Slurring there. Don't worry, I'm not drunk. I had a large dinner. After this beer, this is going to be my only beer of the night, obviously. I'm going to go out and smoke some strong tobacco to follow this up. Kind of goes into a short segue here. I love pipe tobaccos as much as I love beers and whiskeys. I don't review it, obviously, because this is a tethered camera and I can't take it outside. And even if I did, I wouldn't drink it. I love both, but I'm one of those weird people who doesn't like the taste. I love combining alcohol with food, and having the flavors play off there. But for some reason, smoke and alcohol just do not work together for me. I'll go and have a beer and enjoy it, then I'll go and drink a glass of cold water and go outside and smoke. But for some reason, the both of them on my tongue and palate at the same time, one, the smoke usually overwhelms whatever alcohol I'm having, for one, and two, it, after about 5 minutes or so of like smoking, it just develops this horrific chemical aftertaste in my mouth that I can't stand. So that's why you don't see me ever really matching smoke and alcohol, despite me loving both. Because for some reason, my palate just doesn't work that way. Sorry. So, let's go and refresh this a little bit. I'm going to pour it out a little bit more gently this time around. I have to say that the smell is really the most pleasant part of this. It's really just such a nice smell. Not that it tastes bad on the palate, it's just such an intense and so pleasant a smell. That I'm rambling on about it. Now, I've kind of really explored this in depth. And I kind of said it at the beginning too. It really is what it says on the bottle. It's Coconut Hiwa, much more intensified, much more amplified, and in my opinion, much more improved. Why? Because this time, instead of just getting a hint of toasted coconut is an integral part of the flavor profile. And this is something that is wonderful for me because it's very authentic toasted coconut. It doesn't taste like artificial coconut, which most coconut kind of does. It doesn't taste like coconut that has been toasted with added sugars, which changes the flavor profile quite a bit. And, yeah. I'm almost getting toward almost 13 minutes now, so I better start wrapping this up. This is available year-round. It's a little bit hard to find on island, much less off-island, I would suppose. And I'd say it's kind of on the pricey side. Though if you're drinking like this kind of beer, it's not like ridiculous, you know what I mean? I would prefer it to be in a bomber thing and be more around $15, $16 rather than $18 to $20. But that's just me quibbling because I'm poor, as you can kind of see from the size of the place I live. But it's definitely a must-try, I say. And if you can go and find, they have variations of this that pop up, especially in their brew pub. But there was a bourbon barrel aged version of this that I did not buy because it's even more expensive than, you know, the regular Imperial Porter. And I found that, maybe if I see it again and I'm in the mood and there's nothing else, I'll definitely give it a shot. But otherwise, I don't find bourbon, barrel aging to really improve beers. I'm much more happier with the current trend of sours and farmhouses and funkiness rather than, that bourbon barrel aging has kind of gone on the wayside as maybe 2014, 2015's beer fad, beer trending thing, craft beer trending thing. So if it comes up again, I might try it. I might not. Depends on the situation. It gets very good reviews. So people who like those bourbon barrel aged dark beers, they could probably really, this would be right in their wheelhouse. I don't usually enjoy beers like this. I do enjoy this, probably because it's a porter, Imperial Porter instead of Imperial Stout. Much more residual sugars, much less roastiness to the malts. Yeah. So, Maui Imperial Coconut Porter. Give this one a shot if that's up your alley. It's definitely quality. if you're into these heavy dark beers. If you're not, probably not. But as somebody who kind of isn't into heavy dark beers much anymore, I have to say I really enjoyed this one because it lacks the booziness that quite a few of them have, and it lacks a lot of the points that I don't really find appealing. So, you know, this was enjoyable for me. It was very enjoyable. Will I go and make it a regular? Oh, heck no. Regular beer for me is sessionable things, because as you can see, I am a lightweight regarding alcohol and becoming more and more of a lightweight every year. So, this is your beer review for tonight, folks. Cheers.